Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to talk about how to do on-page SEO for small and medium-sized businesses. Now, if you are a small or medium-sized owner, on-page SEO is absolutely essential because it is a lever that site owners or business owners can use to have direct control over their organic visibility, while other strategies can boost your performance, such as paid marketing or link building. These might not have the long-term return on investment that you might want. In addition to that, we know that small businesses typically have a distinct advantage over large enterprise companies, and that is the proximity to the final user or target customer. Combining the insights and feedback that you get from your customers with on-page SEO best practices can become your competitive advantage as a small business owner in a very, very competitive landscape. So in this guide, I want to discuss 3 broad strategies that can be implemented to improve your on-page SEO and what these strategies aim to achieve, and also the specific tactics that you can use to implement any of the strategies. I'm also going to talk about some tools that I think might be helpful for small and medium-sized business owners to help improve their on-page SEO. So let's get started. The first strategy that I want to talk about is how to create content that fulfills user intent. Before we dive in, we have to talk about what search intent is. Search intent refers to the intention with which a user visits a search engine, or otherwise, the intention with which they perform a search. What are they looking to achieve when they search for a particular keyword or phrase? Most search intents can be classified into one of 4 categories, which are transactional queries, informational queries, commercial investigation queries, or navigational queries. So let's talk about why you need to fulfill this intent. The first reason is topical relevance. Search engines like Google use query matching, amongst other factors, to determine what results to show. Previously, this meant that you need to have certain keywords on your page in order for the page to rank for those terms. However, as Google's ranking algorithms have evolved, this concept has also evolved more into topical relevance and entity relationship matching. What this means is that the words that you use still matter, but it's more important to write about the topic in both a coherent and competitive way when it comes to the other content that exists on the web. To do this, focus on explaining the relationship between other related entities and what your topic or content is about, and also align the language that you use to the language that your target customers are using as well. In other words, create content that is relevant to your audience and answers potential questions that they might have for your product or service. It could also mean creating content that addresses pain points that they already have, or meeting them where they are when it comes to the language that they're using and the terms that they're used to when describing certain products or services. Another reason is that search engines would like to create a diverse search engine results page. Google and other search engines like it like to surface different types of content on the first page, both in terms of the content type and in terms of the domain type that is shown. This allows users to always find what they're looking for, even when their queries are ambiguous or too short or might be answered in multiple different ways. This means that there is now more competition for top positions, and certain spots are reserved. Informational queries or definitions might be addressed by Oxford Dictionary or Wikipedia, and this type of result will almost always show for these particular types of queries. A robust approach on focusing on user intent for each page and for each type of content means that Google is more likely to prefer your site to address searches that match your content. Addressing search intent also means offering a good user experience. If someone is searching for something and they find it on your website, this may signal to Google that your website offers a good experience that satisfies users. What you want to avoid on your site are short, non-descriptive pages or pages that serve the sole purpose of moving the user to another page. These are typically referred to as doorway pages. Both of these page types signal to Google a poor user experience. Now that we know why it's important for your content to address search intent and fulfill it successfully, let's talk about the tactics that can help you achieve that purpose. The first tactic is to perform intent-driven keyword and topic research. Aligning your search intent starts with keyword and topic research so that you know the intent that search engines attribute to the keywords that you are targeting. You would be wasting your time if you're trying to rank an article about fixing iPhones for the query "buy new iPhone," for example. To get the most out of your keyword research, you must have a complete understanding of your product's unique selling points and also the way that users search for your product or the features of the product or the services that you offer. You might also want to research whether there are any differences in how users might be searching for what you offer based on their language, location, or culture. Instead of simply collecting keywords and targeting them based purely on search volume, try to identify patterns in the way that users might be searching for your product based on the different stages of the customer journey. To give you an example, when someone is buying an iPhone, they might search for product specifications first and trying to understand how many megapixels the camera is. In this stage, they will use informational queries, and these queries might often be identified via informational words like what, how many, and so forth. At a later stage, they might search for product comparisons, trying to make a decision between the iPhone or a Samsung phone. In this case, they might use terms like best or versus, or difference between. Those might be patterns that you can use to identify those type of searches that are referred to as commercial intent searches. And finally, when it comes to searching for things related to pricing or discount codes, that might indicate a transactional search intent, or otherwise a user is more likely to be closer to the stage of purchasing than someone just inquiring about the product. Once you identify your keywords and group them based on possible user intent, you will be better equipped to create content that is aligned with the desired user experience. And you will have a clear understanding of which intent buckets are most prominent for your user base or for your product or service. One thing to note is when you're doing intent-driven keyword research, you should avoid dismissing keywords based on search volume alone. Instead, you should focus on the user experience, and their journey. As a small business owner, you might find greater success targeting longer niche keywords instead of competing for short, ambiguous queries with search volumes in the hundreds of thousands. Another tactic that you can use is to address all the entities and concepts that might help the digital user journey. In addition to researching keywords and topics to center your content around, you should also try to explain the entities that make up the subject matter and the relationships between them. These are important as they often are used by audiences to make purchase decisions. And let's go through an example together. A person that is interested in purchasing a car is not going to make this decision without first understanding the components that make up the decision. This could be learning more about different engine types or the different fuel types that would power the car. It could also mean learning about concepts such as manual or automatic control. It could even mean learning about financing options. All of these different concepts and entities make up the purchasing decision for this particular niche. So a prospect might have information about all of these things before starting the purchasing journey. However, their knowledge might be limited, or they might not know how to make the decision based on the knowledge that they have. They might require more information. So in this case, your website should act like a digital salesman or woman, helping the customer make a better purchasing decision and giving them more information about the decision that they will be making. If you sell a product or service online, you need to ensure that the content that you create addresses all potential questions that users might have about it or about the sales process itself. Another tactic that you can use is to organize your site to facilitate the visitor's search intent. This could mean a few different things, but generally it pertains to leading the customer to the next intended step, which also would be closer to the conversion. There are a few ways that you can do that. You can invite them to learn more about a topic by promoting a related post. You can prompt them to learn more about your services after inquiring about your brand, or you can show them related products after they have expressed an interest in purchasing something. These can also be approached from the opposite direction as well. You are reviewing your site for any errors. Think about potential blockers that might cause prospective customers to abandon their journey. This could be things like subpar site security, It could be questionable grammar, or it could be a lack of diverse product images. It's up to you to audit and improve those things on your website as you're doing your on-page SEO. The last tactic that I want to talk about in this section is continuously analyzing and collecting first-party data. First-party data is a very broad term, but some examples of this type of data include feedback forms, customer experience surveys, or user research that you have done for your brand. Regardless how big or small, there are always sources for first-party data as long as you have contact with potential customers. Besides first-party data, there are also other data sources that you can use to achieve the same purpose. Here are some examples. Analyzing YouTube or TikTok comments to help you discover new blog post ideas. You can also do that with forum discussions or online community groups that can help you understand how users speak about your product and products like yours. Amazon or other platforms like it can be useful places for understanding your audience's main pain points regarding your product or products like it. The second strategy that I want to talk about regarding your on-page SEO is creating content that it can be easily comprehended by both users and search engines. Creating content that positively impacts your business isn't just about what you know and what the audience is searching for. It's also about how you present the information. So let's talk about some basic considerations to help out both users and search engines understand your content a little bit better. In order to show up in search results, your site must first be crawlable and indexable, or otherwise visible to search engines. This will indicate to search engines that the site can be crawled and it can be included in their index. The next step is to create page structures that enable search engines to easily comprehend the content that is available on the pages and to more easily match it to user queries. How to structure content for easy consumption. At a bare minimum, this means ensuring that the page has a consistent and easily digestible heading structure. This will include a title that explains what the content is about, a heading that expands on or contextualizes the title to help indicate the page's purpose, and H2 to H6 headings that will indicate the hierarchy of the page sections and the content within them. Both of these will also enable skimmability and a better user experience for those target users that already have some level of familiarity with the topic. At a more advanced level, this includes ensuring that the content is written in a language that audiences use to discover your business. It also involves writing and adapting your content to the target user's language or the way that they express themselves. But it also means researching and validating your brand voice with both of these groups. At an expert level, this would involve adding structured data, which search engines use to contextualize your pages. Adding different types of structured data depending on the pages and the content type would make it easier for Google and other search engines like it to understand your pages, your products, and what your website is about overall. It can also help your site appear in rich results in Google search, which can give you an enhanced look and a more competitive advantage to attract clicks. This can improve the site's click-through rate by making the result more enticing to click on. Let's talk about tactics that can facilitate easier content comprehension. Here, it is important to understand that your aim as an SMB site owner is to maximize the opportunity for user engagement on the site, while also providing the ability for users to consume only what they need. So these strategies that we'll talk about are going to help you do just that. To set your content to be visible for search engines, you need to ensure that all public-facing content is published and set to visible for search engines to crawl and index it freely. Check that your sitemap is active and it reflects all the pages on your website. In other words, your sitemap does not contain broken pages, it doesn't contain redirected pages, it doesn't contain any other status pages besides live or 200. You also need to make sure that your sitemap is accessible. You should verify that your robots.txt file is also accessible. You can use your robots.txt file to block pages that you don't want to show up in search results. An example of a page like this might be your thank you page, or it could be your entire site if you are still constructing it. You should also ensure that on your site there are no live links to sections or content that is not live yet to avoid providing a bad user experience. The second tactic that you can implement here is to improve the user engagement from the SERPs. To do this, you have to use a keyword-rich, descriptive, and enticing title to encourage clicks from your site. Your meta descriptions should also communicate value and promote action from search results. Bear in mind that both of these elements could sometimes be rewritten by Google and other search engines like it. To get more potential visibility from the content that you're already creating, add structured data to your pages to enable your content to appear as rich results on the relevant search engine results pages. Whenever appropriate, make sure that your pages have a featured image, as these can sometimes also be displayed as part of the search results, such as in author pages or blog pages. Whenever you add images, ensure that they are compressed before uploading them and add alt text and descriptive captions that reflect the contents of the image. The final tactic here is to organize your content coherently. Your titles should be based on the primary purpose of the content or page. If the page that you are publishing is primarily a tutorial but has a conceptual introduction, try to write a task-based title instead. For instance, how to select the right SUV is probably more aligned with your target audience than the more ambiguous selecting the right SUV. Likewise, section headings are also written based on the type of content in the section. The basic hygiene check to avoid duplication. Make sure that there is no repetition between the title and any of the headings. Also, whenever you are writing these elements on your page, avoid using the ing verb forms as the first word wherever possible. Of course, words like billing or pricing will be exceptions to this rule. In terms of formatting, Google has surfaced multiple best practices that are extremely helpful for SMB owners. Some of these include writing headings and titles in sentence case, deleting numbers in the headings whenever these relate to a step or a sequence, using punctuation in headings sparingly, whenever using an abbreviation to spell out the abbreviation within the first paragraph that follows that particular heading or title, and making sure that there are no empty headings or headings without any associated content within them. An important thing to remember is that headings are tags that Google uses to understand the hierarchical structure of the content. So if you need to change the visual formatting of a heading, it's better to use the styling sheet than a heading level that doesn't really fit the hierarchy. Don't make up your own formatting for headings. Another important thing here is that ideally you shouldn't skip levels when it comes to the headings, because they should indicate a hierarchy. So in other words, an H3 heading should only go under an H2 heading, for example, or follow other H3 headings if it relates to a list. H1 to H6 tags should similarly be used to structure the rest of the content and correspond to the semantic structure of a page, as this formatting is used for more than visual purposes. Including links as part of your headings could easily be confused as a style applied to a heading as opposed to a link, so avoid placing links in the heading text. To assist the users that have specific intentions on the site, consider adding a table of contents on your pages whenever this is applicable as well, for content that is on your blog, for example. This can aid quicker content discovery and a better user experience for users that want to navigate to a specific part of your content. To maximize conversions, make sure that the call to actions that you use are clear and strong, prompting the users to make the desired action, whether it is signing up for a newsletter, downloading a resource, or purchasing a product or service on your site. The last strategy that I want to talk about today is linking to authoritative sources and other topically relevant content on your website. Links don't just take you from one page to another. With the right execution, they can guide your users and also an authority to your content, and it can also help search engines discover new pages. Let's talk about how links are associated with user experience improvements. Now, the first thing is when you're writing your own content, linking to authoritative resources allows you to cite the claims that you are making within your own copy. This is an important signal to Google as it highlights that your content is informed by trustworthy, credible, and authoritative sources. Despite popular belief that Google uses outbound link quality as a metric to determine rankings, or there is some sort of magic number of authoritative outbound links required to gain more traffic, these claims have not been substantiated by Google. Instead, Google's spokespeople emphasize that such links, when appropriately used throughout the content, can improve the user experience on your website by informing the audience of other resources that might be relevant or very useful to their search intent on creating helpful content. Google also advises creating content that presents information in a trustworthy way with clear sourcing, evidence of expertise, and background information about the author on the publishing site. Linking to other relevant content on your site also means that you are enabling users to discover more of your pages and pages that are relevant to their interests. which could lead to them engaging with new blog posts, products, or services. This type of internal linking also helps Google and other search engines discover new pages on your website and new ways that these pages can be served to users. The way that search engines do this is by utilizing the text that you use to link from one page to another. This text is typically referred to as the anchor text. These types of links also help Google to understand the relative importance of the pages on your website to one another and distribute link equity between them. Beside the anchor text, the surrounding text to the link could also be used as a hint to search engines on the potential queries that they can use to serve this page to other users. Let's talk about the best practices when it comes to building effective links. First of all, avoid generic anchor text. We just mentioned the importance of anchor text when it comes to new query discovery and the way that Google understands how you refer from one page to another. Anything in the realm of read more, learn more, or click here will not serve your search engine visibility goals. Ensure that all linking text is descriptive of the link destination and provides enough context for the user to enable them to make a decision on whether to click to that page or not. This is true for both the links that flow within your own website and outbound links, links that flow to other websites. Both should strive for wording that describes the destination page. In terms of link settings, here are a few best practices to follow. Ensure that there are no links pointing to a redirected page or a page that returns a 404 result or otherwise a broken page. Set all internal links to use the follow setting as opposed to no follow. When linking internally, set links to open in the same window. When linking externally, set links to open in a new window. User engagement for tracking internal linking interactions is going to be improved, and it will provide a better user experience for those that click on external links, as they will be enabled to always quickly jump back into the content that sent them to the other site. On to the most exciting part, let's talk about some SEO tools that can help you with your on-page optimizations. Here is a selected collection of tools that I use to do on-page optimizations, keyword research, and other site enhancements. These tools are suitable for people with little to no experience in SEO, and they are also selected specifically for SMB owners. For intent-driven and opportunity research, you can use any SEO platform like SEMrush or Ahrefs. They come at a heavier monthly cost, which might not be suitable for all type of SMB owners, but they can help with an array of SEO research and opportunity identification tasks. There are also free alternatives to identifying relevant keywords. Some of these free alternatives are Google Keyword Planner, autocomplete keyword tools, and SEO Minion browser extensions. What is good about them is that they can help you identify broad match keywords and semantically related keywords, or they can help you bulk export the terms that Google suggests as related terms to a given keyword. The SEO Minion extension, on the other hand, allows you to bulk export. People also ask question and answer pairs from the SERP. This can be very useful when you're identifying your organic competitors or analyzing headings, titles, or other on-page SEO elements. When you're working with structured data and you're trying to identify the structured data that your competitors are using, I suggest trying the Write Structured Data browser extension. To speed up the process of creating structured data for your website, use a structured data generator like those of Merkle or Classy Schema. When you are creating content briefs, there are multiple tools to choose from, both paid and free, so you can choose depending on your budget. Paid options include tools like Keyword Insights, but when you want to get started for free, a tool like Contentum's Content Generator or Dashboard's AI-powered content generator might be a good starting point. If you're trying to determine whether your implemented actions have had an impact on your site's SEO, there are certain metrics that you might want to look into in order to validate whether the tactics that you have implemented are serving search engines, your visitors, and your business. The first one is organic traffic and keywords. Review the keywords that your site is ranking for and ensure that these are aligned with your target keywords, topics, and entities. Consider whether these are also aligned with your business proposition and whether they help your company's goals. When it comes to user engagement, review metrics like average time on page, bounce rate, exit rate, average number of pages per session, and average session duration. There are other engagement metrics that you can find in Google Analytics. Improvements in all of these metrics, of course with a decrease in bounce rate, are a good indicator of intent alignment and effective site architecture because they essentially tell you that users are engaging with your content and they are engaging with the way that your site is structured. When it comes to site engagement, some metrics that can help you validate the success of your implementations are page scroll, button clicks, and on-page events. Improvements in these metrics indicate that the experience on your page is enticing users and the content is organized in a way that promotes user engagement. If you have added structured data on any of your pages, you can also monitor for improvements in clicks and click-through rates, as well as the overall search visibility, namely in the rich results and enhancements reports in Google Search Console. That concludes our guide for today. Let's summarize the key takeaways. Greater search visibility often correlates with greater revenue for your business. Although there are many tactics that can help you to gain visibility in search engines, on-page SEO elements are the ones that are under your direct control, which makes them very important and valuable for a small business. Despite discussing on-page SEO with many considerations in mind, it's important to create content that addresses and fulfills your audience's search intent, to make the content easy to comprehend for both users and search engines, and to link to relevant content both internally and to authoritative content externally from your site. By focusing on these three areas and implementing the several tactics we've talked about throughout this video, your site is going to become more user-friendly for potential customers and more easily understood for user search engines.
The resource was created in collaboration with the Wix SEO Learning Hub. Check out the full resource on the Hub and additional resources that the Hub has produced to learn all the best practices that you need for improving your organic visibility. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and watch other videos on my channel.